I've been an on and off gamer throughout the years, scrounging at the scraps of my friends and family's consoles and handhelds until recently. Until it reached a point where I could afford my own console, and so I had choices. PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, a laptop with peripherals. There were a bunch of options, but I landed on the Steam Deck. I tend to research my purchases a lot, and the Steam Deck just made sense financially and in terms of my personal gaming preferences. So today's video is about why the Steam Deck is better than the PS5. I must preface this by saying I've never owned anything else apart from the Steam Deck in terms of big time gaming. The only other thing I owned was my gaming laptop. I'm going to make a pretty strong case here in this video. And the first thing is just lots of cheap games. Here's Made for Steam Deck, bunch of affordable games. These are more sort of recent titles that are not so cheap, but you can go through. Here's my wish list. Here's some stuff that are actually on sale in my wish list. There's a game for 120 Rand, which is really cheap. The Long Dark, I Like Walking Sims. Cyberpunk for 800 Rand, that's not cheap. What I do is I create a wish list, and I get an email every time my wish list goes on sale. And then I just check the game out. If I want to buy it, I buy it. Take that, PlayStation. And then this hardware is incredibly versatile. Much like the Swiss Army knife, it is maybe not excellent at one thing, but it's acceptably good, and if not really good, at a lot of things. With XR glasses, it is a next level personal gaming device. I honestly do this regularly. I play games with these XR glasses, and it just feels like I've got a massive screen in front of me. It's filling the whole back wall. With a controller and a dock, you've got a full-blown console. This is where I think it gives the PS5 a run for its money, because you've got a massive library of both new games and old games that you can plug into a TV and play seamlessly as a console, with a few caveats. We'll talk about that later. Another thing I've been doing lately, this is only if you're a person that owns multiple devices, but when this is in the dock, I can plug my Ethernet cable in the back and stream to my Adin 2 Mini in my bedroom, which is a more inconspicuous device, to just play some of my games in bed. And then it also connects to most controllers. The reason I specifically chose this one, because this is a Bluetooth and 2.4 gigahertz controller that's marketed by 8BitDo as an Android and Windows controller, but it works on this device even though it's Linux. It kind of connects to everything. And getting back to dockability, I haven't had a single issue with this JZorks dock, apart from the fact that I shouldn't have chosen white. It's getting dirty. There's plenty of options out there, but it's been quite a nice dock to use. So I'll put the link below for this one. I recommend the black one, not the white one. It's got RGB lightings around the edge, which is a bit of fun. It has a 2.0 USB here, which is fine for like a mouse or something. That's what my mouse dongle is. You've got fast charging inputs over there, two 3.0 USB jacks over there, Ethernet, HDMI output, the input for the actual Steam Deck, and then another USB port over there. So you've got a lot of connectivity here. I mean, you could connect 1, 2, 3, and then Bluetooth. So you could connect 3 2.4 gigahertz controllers into here, and then plus some Bluetooth controllers. So you really could go crazy with multiplayer on this thing, and I haven't had a day's trouble. So the dockability is really flexible. And there's one fiddly thing here that you will need to learn, and I'll teach it to you now, is to go into controller settings and reorder the controllers. Sometimes what will happen is if you use an external controller, you don't stop and start the game, and you pick up the device to play on the device, the controller will be unplugged, but the device controls will be set to number 2, and then you've got to reorder them. Or you'll be playing multiplayer and want to reorder the controllers. You'll thank me later. And again, this is where I got the title for this video, because I really think this is where the Steam Deck gives the PS5 and other consoles a run for its money, because of all the other benefits that I've been talking about and going to talk about, plus the fact that it is just a full-blown console. It works really nicely. There have been compromises made to make this as affordable as it is, but it is affordable for what it can do. The workmanship, like the actual plastic and the performance, it's all been a bit of a compromise. But hear me out, because the ROG ROG Ally Z1, which is the cheapest ROG Ally, is the same price as the Steam Deck, but doesn't compare in performance. And the PS5 is like $549, so it doesn't compare, and this is portable, so big win. I mean, PS5, you're getting exclusive PS5 releases and some online multiplayer benefits. I don't know, let me know. But this next point is a big one, that's what she said. The engineering balancing act that is the Steam Deck. They decided to go with Linux. They decided to make it slightly underpowered, but go with Linux so that they could optimize all of the goodies. And that gamble has paid off, because when they launched this, they said, okay, what we're going to do is we are going to optimize games for the Steam Deck as well, and work with developers and get these games working perfectly on the Steam Deck, working with the controls, all that sort of thing. And that library has grown considerably. I've also bought games that aren't approved for Steam Deck and they worked fine. So that side of it is growing and is very, very user-friendly. Plus, you can get like AAA games on here with concessions, but those concessions have concessions, because if you press this little 3-dot button on the side and go to the lightning bolt, you've got a bunch of performance settings. You can limit your frame rate. The other one I wanted to point out was TDP, which is totally doo-doo poop. Okay, I don't know what it means, but it limits the power output of the device. You see it's in watts, and it limits the power output of the device so that you can use as little power as possible to keep the game running and keep battery life. And that is also one of the big things with this device, is that balancing act improves battery life to compare to any other Windows handheld that can do the same as this. You can set the frame rate, which I always set to 10 because it's my favorite number. I mentioned that the hardware was a compromise on this. What I mean by that is they were trying to make this affordable, but a lot of thought has gone into this hardware. It is very comfy, and I know that a lot of people with different size hands say the same thing. I did find these triggers a little bit of a thing to get used to at first, but now I love them. The way that these L and R bumpers work in conjunction with this, the ergonomics of it are exceptional. You've got these trackpads, which was a good move, because if you ever are playing a game that needs mouse input and you can't get away from it, the trackpads are there. And also for precise gun movement, some people use it for that. And they went for this almost revolutionary, like it was pretty unique. I remember when this launched and I was like, I've never seen something that looks like that, with everything up in the corners. When I saw it, I was like, that is dumb. It works so well. Like, this is such a nice ergonomic layout. I mean, it makes sense. Your thumbs are here. Put them all there. You know, it works. I love my 8-bit do controllers. You can't beat using a dedicated controller, but I will often pull this out of the dock by my TV with all my nice controllers and just use it like this, because the screen with the comfy ergonomics, it just feels right. It's a great way to play games. And then the screen. I mean, this screen is interesting. They went with a 720p screen, and I know in the beginning, when it launched, people were like, 720p. You almost never notice 720p on this thing. I know that if I would jump from this to one of the, I think ROG Ally has a nice fancy screen, you do notice it when you jump to another device. But again, that balancing act, the 720p reduces power draw on the GPU. It's all been thought out. If you install one of those third-party screens on here, battery life drops and performance drops. So it's a very carefully thought out system. And then they brought out the OLED, which sort of fixed the issue with the screen. But here's my main problem with this device, and that is resolution and scaling. That is a constant issue with the Steam Deck. Maybe other users will disagree with me, but I'm constantly frustrated. If I put my XR glasses in and I play a session, especially if I open the game with the XR glasses on, then I unplug them, leave the game playing, and I want to play with the handheld, because you want that sort of seamless experience. Plug in, play here, play everywhere. That doesn't always work so well. I will often do that and then maybe go plug into my dock and try play on my TV, and suddenly on my TV, the screen is windowed and scaled down drastically. The quality is awful. And that is a constant frustration with the Steam Deck. It's always struggling with that. And on that note, this is one of the key reasons you would want to get a PS5, is how scaled down everything is. This is all about optimizing big fancy games on a smaller device. And so they compromised on the amount of output this can do with the graphics. And so as soon as you plug it into a TV, you notice that, and you definitely notice that the resolution isn't as high as if you had had a PS5. But the reason why I still hold to my idea here is because I don't think that is going to bother most people. I think most people are going to go, it's a compromise I'm willing to make because I can play this on the couch, I can play this in the bed, I can play this when I'm traveling, and that's something I'm not even going to mention in this video. I can use this as a computer. There's a bunch of things you can do with this as opposed to just getting a console that sits in one place. It's massive, and that's all it can do. So having 4K output or whatever it is, compared to having a lower resolution with all the other benefits of this thing, it really is a good argument to make. So I think the question here is, why isn't the Steam Deck more mainstream? My answer is that I think this is still a little bit nerdy. It is Linux, which immediately I think puts some people off because they hear that and they think, oh, it's just for nerds. You've got to fiddle with TDP, you've got to fiddle with frame rates, all those sort of nerdy things. People talk about mods with the Steam Deck. There's a whole lot of nerd things that go along with the Steam Deck. But here's the thing. I haven't done any of that. I thought I would buy this and I would start being my typical nerdy self. I haven't even set up emulation on this, which is another thing that it can do. I haven't done any of that stuff because I have just been playing games, buying, downloading, and playing games. That's all I've done on this thing, and it has been so easy. I forget about TDP sometimes, I forget about frame rate sometimes. All I do is just play the flipping games, and that is where the Steam Deck is just absolutely glorious, and why I think we should be shouting from the rooftops that the Steam Deck is better than the PS5.